Okay, so before we hear speech 2, remember thinking to yourself, was that high style? Did it seem to have a lot of metaphor, rich language, complex vocabulary? Did it seem mid-style, a bit of grand address, but grand address with some blunt, clear to understand language? Or was it low style, very colloquial, like he was just talking to us? Okay, so now we're going to look at number 2. Now remember, this is taking us back to 1944. This is a general addressing his troops on the eve of battle, going in Allied battle into France. Let's have a little look at this one. Speech 2. Sure, we all want to go home. We want to get this war over with, but you can't win a war laying down. The quickest way to get it over with is get the bleep who started it. We want to get the hell over there and clean the goddamn thing up. The quicker they're whipped, the quicker we go home. The shortest way home is through Berlin and Tokyo, so keep moving. And when we get to Berlin, I'm personally going to shoot that paper-hanging son of a bitch Hitler. When a man is lying in a shell hole, if he just stays there all day, a Bosch will get him eventually. The hell with that. My men don't dig foxholes. Foxholes only slow up an offensive. Keep moving, we'll win this war. But we'll win it only by fighting and showing the Germans that we've got more guts than they have or ever will have. Some of you men are wondering whether or not you'll chicken out under fire. Don't worry about it. I can assure you that you'll all do your duty. War is a bloody business, a killing business. The Nazis are the enemy. Wade into them, spill their blood, or they will spill yours. Shoot them in the guts, rip open their belly. When shells are hitting all around you, and you wipe the dirt from your face, and you realize that it's not dirt, it's the blood and gut of what was once your best friend, you'll know what to do. Ooh, short and sharp that one, wasn't it? But quite hard hitting. So, just as a quick point of reflection, which speech do you personally prefer and why? So all you've got to do at this point is just really quickly, you're going to copy and complete these sentence stems, okay? But remember that given that these speeches were aimed at young men about to go into a very dangerous situation, which do you think would be the most powerful for the intended audience? So not for you or me. I'm a 40-something teacher, white middle-class woman. This wasn't intended for me. This was young men on the eve of battle. So you have to try and put yourself in their shoes. So just say, I prefer speech 1 or 2 because, but you have to give me a reason, okay? And it can't be because I want to, because I like to. So try and think of a reason why. And then it says, which do you think would be the most powerful? So speaking is more powerful because. So which one do you prefer and which is more powerful? So just pause. Now, if you want to go back, you can just, magic of YouTube, innit? You can rewind and re-listen to those speeches, okay? Or you can turn the sound off and just look at them on the screen and kind of just digest them again. But based on your gut, which speech do you prefer and why? Okay, and you're going to just pause now and complete that as a quick reflection, okay? A summary gut response. Press pause now. Okay, so our final task for today, and I'm just going to go through these questions with you, and then you're just going to pause and work through these questions, okay? Is that we're going to look at 5 questions, but be careful here. It says here you're going to focus in on speech 1 a little more closely and answer the questions. Now, this is very similar to what happens at GCSE in language paper 2. You were given 2 texts to look at, but then they get you to answer slightly different types of questions, different types of tasks across the 2 texts. So this use of questions here by zooming in on speech 1 kind of just foreshadows that activity a little bit. So what you're going to need to do is just listen, okay? And then you're going to have a look at these questions. So you are going to have to flick back either through the PDF notes to look at the speech or on YouTube, because you can't answer these questions without looking at the speech again. So number 1. The speaker is very respectful about Iraq and its culture and people. Why has he chosen to do this? Number 2, can you identify where the speaker of speech 1 uses biblical allusions? Now remember, allusions are references to ... So we've seen Herculean effort, Sisyphean task in previous lessons. They were allusions to Greek culture. So now it's to see if you can find any words or phrases that make you think of the Bible. So biblical allusions. And then I want you to tell me why you think he does this. Okay, what do you think his intention could be? 3, what words and phrases are used by the speaker to inspire confidence in his men? So what words or phrases are used to make them feel confident, assured that they can do this? Number 4, which words or phrases are used to create a bond and connection with the soldiers? So which words or phrases create that relationship? And 5, can you spot any rhetorical figures? In other words, any of those language features used by the speaker designed to add persuasive power. Could be allusion, antithesis, the use of opposites. It could be some of those sentence structures we've seen. Now, again, you need to pause and you need to give yourself time to do this, okay? So this isn't going to be a quick 2-minute job. You're going to need to look at the speech and you've got those 5 tasks to work through, okay? Now, in a minute, if you prefer, you can work independently. Get it done in your own time, beginning now. If you want to stay working with me, though, if you want me to have a look at some of it with you, we will do that, okay? So just bear in mind, you can either work independently at this point, or you can stay and check in with me and we'll get started together. Okay, guys, so if you're staying with me, we're going to look at this one. Now, I've already pre-prepared this for us, but then the next bits of the slide, as we move forward, are going to be less pre-prepared because it's about learning to do this as well with confidence ourselves. So it says that the speaker is very respectful about Iraq and its culture. Why has he chosen to do this? So we can see that right away, very early in the beginning of the speech, it's that very second sentence, he says, we are entering Iraq to free a people, and the only flag which will be flown in that ancient land is their own. Show respect for them. So actually, he's incredibly explicit. He doesn't hide it. He says, show respect for them. He talks about the ancient land. He talks about flying their flag and freeing them. So very quickly, and there are other incidents that we'll see a little bit further down. Iraq is steeped in history. He is presenting Iraq and its culture and its people in a respectful way. So why has he chosen to do this? Because the Iraqi people and culture are not the enemy here. The enemy is Saddam and the men that fight for him, not the whole culture, not the whole people. So it takes us to the title that we go to liberate, not to conquer. So actually, this is about the people that we're fighting for, and we're fighting for the people of Iraq, not against them. Okay, now identify the speaker's use of biblical allusion. So stories from the Bible. Now, the thing about biblical allusion is you either get it or you don't. You either have that knowledge or not. So you might have seen Garden of Eden, Great Flood, birthplace of Abraham. Okay, so actually modern day Iraq is part of the ancient world where we would have seen the Garden of Eden, the Great Flood, Abraham, who was one of the Old Testament kind of fathers of Israel. So what he's also recognizing then is that often soldiers, British people, we have a knowledge of the Bible, maybe more than we do of where it's from, in the land that it's from. But he's hoping that by creating these references to a biblical allusion, that he's creating a link to this idea of a common ground between the audience and the Iraqi people, that this is the birthplace of religion. Okay, so we've got these, I expect you to rock their world. Now, that is what we would call a colloquial everyday expression. So although it's high style, this one, yeah, it's definitely blending a little bit of the everyday. He wants them to rock their world, and he bigs them up by saying, you are ferocious in battle. He's inspiring confidence in his men. And he's using that you and all the way through this we, to show that he's making a bond and a connection with the soldiers. Now, can you see the difference between battle and victory? Yep, ferocious in battle, be magnanimous in victory. It's that use of antithesis. The ideas of opposites. He's using the we will repetition. So he's using lots of rhetorical features. So this is the sort of thing we're looking at. Now, you could argue that just looking at this beginning, we've got examples and answers for each of the questions. So again, if you want, at this point, you can press pause. You can turn the discussion we've had into your sentences, and you've answered your questions. But if you want to stay with me, we'll just look at the next bit, just to strengthen that, she says. Okay, so here you will see things that no man could pay to see. So he's continuing to use this you will. And you will have to go a long way to find a more decent, generous and upright people than the Iraqis. So actually he's saying that connection with his soldiers, the you will. But he's also showing respect there. Look at those 3 adjectives. for the Iraqi people, more decent, generous, and upright people than the Iraqis. So again, he's presenting the Iraqi people as the victims, as the group of people that they are fighting for, not against. Okay? You will be embarrassed by their hospitality, even though they have nothing. Don't treat them as refugees, for they are in their own country. Their children will be poor, and in years to come, they will know that the light of liberation in their lives was brought by you. So again, we've got this idea of rescue, that the Iraqi people being presented very positively, very respectfully. He's also that idea that inspiring confidence in the men. The light of liberation will have been brought by you. So he's really trying to inspire the men that what they're doing is right and it's going to be successful. If there are casualties of war, then remember that when they woke up and got dressed in the morning, they did not plan to die this day. Allow them dignity in death. Bury them properly and mark their graves. It is my foremost intention to bring every single one of you out alive. So there he's creating a personal bonding connection with the soldiers. It is my intention to bring every single one of you out alive. But there are many people among us who will not see the end of this campaign. We will put them in their sleeping bags and send them back. There will be no time for sorrow. The enemy should be in no doubt that we are his nemesis. So there's that use of metaphor. So rhetorically, he's using metaphor, and that we are bringing about his rightful destruction. There are many regional commanders who have stains on their souls. So there's a biblical allusion to stains on their souls, and they're stoking the fires of hell for Saddam. So he's almost saying that this is like a crusade, that there is a righteousness in what they're doing in going into war against Saddam. He stokes the fires of hell, so Saddam is akin here to the devil. He and his forces will be destroyed by this coalition for what they've done. As they die, they will know their deeds have brought them to this place. Show them no pity. It is a big step to take another human life. It will not be done lightly. I know of many who have taken life needlessly in other conflicts. I can assure you they live with the mark of Cain upon them. Now, this is a biblical allusion. This gentleman down here, Cain, in the Old Testament, there are two brothers, Cain and Abel. Cain killed his brother. It was the first act of murder ever recorded in the history of the Bible. And he killed his brother and he buried him in the dirt and he left him and hoped that nobody would see him, and he didn't confess to it. Okay? And so what this colonel is saying is that some soldiers get carried away and do kill needlessly, and he's cautioning them against that. So we've got another biblical allusion. So again, at this point, you've got lots of potential information. You could answer each of these questions, okay? Or we can just look at how it ends, okay? If someone surrenders to you, then remember that they have that right in international law, ensure that one day they will go home to their families. The ones who wish to fight, well, we aim to please. If you harm the regiment or its history by over-enthusiasm in killing or in cowardice, no, it is your family who will suffer. So actually, we've got this lovely metaphorical use of your family here. He's saying that as soldiers, they're part of a family. You will be shunned unless your conduct is the highest, for your deeds will follow you down through history. We will bring shame on neither our uniform or our nation. So look at this lovely kind of rhetorical use of the pronouns. Remember right back when we started, the use of pronouns to create a sense of relationship. We are. So we're collectively creating a bond between himself and the soldiers. It is not a question of if, it's a question of when. We know he has already devolved the decision to lower commanders, and that means he's already taken the decision himself. So he's just referring there tactically to Saddam Hussein, who's already kind of passed on to his soldiers that they are to fight. If we survive the first strike, we will survive the attack. That lovely kind of sentence structure, that rhetorical sentence structure. As for ourselves, let's bring everyone home and leave Iraq a better place for us having been there. Our business is now in the north. So that nice metaphor at the end that fighting is a business. Our business is now in north. As for ourselves, let's bring everyone home and leave Iraq a better place. So that's inspiring confidence. Let's bring everyone home. Let's leave Iraq a better place for us having been there. So actually, this speech is full of examples of him speaking respectfully about Iraq. It's got that list of biblical allusions from Cain to the Garden of Eden to the Great Flood. Okay, he's got words or phrases that's used to inspire confidence in his men. He's definitely creating a bonding connection with them, and the rhetorical figures come through the speech. So what I need you to do now is just complete your answers to each of those 5 questions. Okay, so you should have in your book 5 questions, 5 answers. And that's it for today, guys. Bye.